50 data analyst interview questions, answered in just 10 minutes. And not the generic questions you see on random global websites. These are the questions that actually show up in Indian data analyst interviews at companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and even top startups. Let's start with Section 1, SQL. 10 questions. These appear in almost every single DA technical round. Q1, what's the difference between where and having? Where filters rows before grouping. Having filters groups after group by. For example, if you want to find customers with more than 5 orders, you first group by the customer and then use having count greater than 5. Where can't do this because it runs before aggregation happens. Now questions 2 through 5, rapid fire. Inner join returns only matched rows. Left join returns all rows from the left table, including unmatched ones. Group by with sum is used to aggregate values per category. Rank versus row number. Rank skips numbers after ties, while row number never skips. Subquery versus join. Joins are generally faster for large datasets, while subqueries are often more readable for simple lookups. Now questions 6 through 10. How do you find duplicates? Group by the column and use having count greater than 1. Second highest salary? Order by descending, then limit 1 offset 1. What's a self-join? It's when you join a table to itself. A common use case is finding employees who earn more than their manager. How do you handle null values? Use is null, not equals null. Null values are not comparable using the equals operator. And finally, what is an index? An index is a database structure that speeds up queries on large tables. You typically use indexes on columns you frequently filter or join on. Now let's move to Section 2, Statistics. Questions 11 through 15. Mean is the average. Median is the middle value. Mode is the most frequent value. And for skewed data like salaries, median is usually the better metric. Standard deviation measures how spread out the data is from the mean. A high standard deviation means high variability. Correlation is not causation. Two things can move together without one causing the other. For example, ice cream sales and drowning rates both rise during summer, but neither causes the other. Normal distribution is the classic bell curve, where most values cluster around the mean. And what about p-values? A p-value measures the probability that a result happened by chance. Typically, a p-value below 0.05 is considered statistically significant. Now questions 16 through 20, more rapid fire. What's an outlier? A data point that sits far away from the others. And before removing it, investigate it first, because sometimes it's actually the most important data point. A/B testing means splitting users into 2 groups, changing one variable, and measuring the difference. You also need to control for sample size and time. Precision versus recall. Precision asks, of all positive predictions, how many were actually correct? Recall asks, of all actual positives, how many did you successfully catch? What is overfitting? It's when a model learns the training data too well and then performs poorly on new data. You can fix it with more data or by simplifying the model. And finally, confidence interval. A confidence interval is the range where the true value likely falls. For a 95% confidence interval, about 95 out of 100 samples would contain the true mean. Now let's move to Section 3, Python and Tools. Questions 21 through 30. Pandas is a Python library used for data manipulation. Its core structure is the data frame, basically like Excel tables in code. iLock uses integer positions. Lock uses label-based indexing. How do you handle missing values? Use drop na to remove them or fill na to impute them. The right choice depends on the pattern of missingness. Matplotlib versus Seaborn. Matplotlib is lower level and more flexible. Seaborn is built on top of Matplotlib and makes statistical visualizations easier with less code. What's the pandas equivalent of a pivot table? The pivot table function. How do you merge data frames? Using pd.merge and specifying the key column with the on parameter. What is Power BI? A business intelligence tool used to create interactive dashboards from multiple data sources. Bar chart versus histogram. Bar charts are for categorical comparisons. Histograms are used to show the distribution of a continuous variable. And scatter plots? Scatter plots are used to show relationships between two continuous variables. Now, Section 4, Business and Analytical Thinking. And honestly, this is where strong technical candidates often lose to weaker candidates who simply communicate better. Questions 31 through 40. How do you investigate a metric drop? First, validate the data. Then, segment by platform, geography, user type, and look for what changed. What's a North Star metric? It's the single metric that best captures the core value you deliver to users. How do you present findings to non-technical stakeholders? Lead with the business implication, not the method. Use one simple chart, plain language, and give a recommendation. What is cohort analysis? Tracking groups of users who started at the same time to see how their behavior changes over time. What is churn? The percentage of customers who stopped using the product during a given period. How do you validate an analysis? Sanity check it using a different method, get peer review, and compare it against known benchmarks. What is funnel analysis? Tracking users through sequential steps to identify where they drop off. KPI versus metric. A KPI is a business goal metric. A metric is any measured value. All KPIs are metrics, but not all metrics are KPIs. What if two data sources conflict? Investigate which source is more reliable for that specific metric and flag the conflict transparently. And finally, chart questions. Always lead with the business insight, not just a description of the chart. Now, Section 5, Behavioral questions. 10 questions, and for every single one, use the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. Questions 41 through 45 are all behavioral, and here are some key tips. For Q41, lead with the business problem, not the tool. For Q42, the more surprising your story is, the more memorable it becomes. For Q44, be honest about being wrong and explain what changed and how you work afterward. For Q47, choose a strength that directly matches the top requirement in the job description. And for Q50, spend at least 20 minutes researching the company before the interview. Mention something specific. So there you go. You just got 50 data analyst interview questions. But here's the thing most candidates miss. Reading these questions is preparation. Saying the answers out loud, confidently, under pressure, that's a completely different skill. Mockly lets you do a full AI voice data analyst interview. It listens to your actual spoken answers and gives you specific feedback. Free to start. Link in the description.